Subscribe. Korea's darkness has no end. My grandmother died on a Tuesday in March. No one called me. I found out 3 days later from a neighbor who still remembered my number. Our family did not grieve loudly. We did not gather. We kept our distances the way people keep distance from something they are afraid to look at directly. I drove 4 hours to Gyeonggi-do, to the small village where she had lived for 60 years. The kind of village that loses 10 people every winter and never gains them back. Stone walls worn smooth by decades of rain. Dry rice fields. And old people who watch you arrive with the careful eyes of those who remember more than they say. The house was cold. She had lived alone for 30 years. Since my grandfather passed. Everything was exactly where she had left it. A bowl of rice on the table, hardened now. Dried persimmons hanging in the kitchen. Her rubber shoes lined up at the door as if she had only stepped outside for a moment and would return any second. I started cleaning. I did not know what else to do. The neighbors came to help. They were polite and efficient and said very little. But one woman, older than the rest, kept glancing toward the back room at the end of the hall. Every time I moved in that direction she would find a reason to call me somewhere else. I noticed. I did not say anything. Not yet. I found the chest on my second night there. It was small and wooden, pushed into the space beneath a loose floorboard in the back room. The lock had rusted shut but broke apart in my hands. Inside were photographs, black and white, the edges soft with age. A baby wrapped in white cloth. And a woman holding the baby who I almost did not recognize. Her face was different. Not younger. Different. Like she was a person I had never been allowed to meet. The expression she wore was not one I had ever seen from her. It was grief so large it had nowhere to go. I brought the photographs to the village elder the next morning. He was 93 years old and his hands trembled when I laid them on the table in front of him. He looked at them for a long time without speaking. Then he told me to sit. And he told me the thing that no one in my family had ever said out loud in 80 years. Before my mother was born, there had been another child, a girl, born in 1942. During the occupation, when the family had nothing, the baby had been left on the mountain when she was 4 months old. The family had never spoken her name. They had folded her into the silence the way you fold a letter you are afraid to read and bury it somewhere no one will find. That night I could not sleep. At 2 in the morning I heard crying coming from inside the walls. Not loud. Very soft. The kind of crying that has already given up on being heard. I lay still and I listened and I did not move until it stopped. In the morning I went to the back room. The dust on the floor was thick except in one area near the far wall, where there were small footprints. Too small for an adult. Too deliberate to be anything else. That afternoon I was cleaning the hallway mirror when I saw her. A child standing directly behind me. White clothes, dark eyes, completely still. I turned around. Nothing. When I looked back at the mirror she was still there, watching me with an expression I cannot describe except to say it was not hate. It was something much older and much sadder than hate. I found my grandmother's diary that evening. Most of it was ordinary. Weather, meals, small complaints about her knees. But near the very end the entries changed. She wrote that she had seen a child standing at the edge of the field. That she knew who it was. That she was not afraid. That she was sorry. The last entry was 3 words. I was wrong. And then nothing. The child came to me that night. She stood at the foot of my sleeping mat in the dark. Small and still and watching. I sat up and looked at her and I did not scream. I do not know where that steadiness came from. I looked at her and I said, I know who you are. Something shifted in her face. Not much, but enough. Like a window opening in a room that had been sealed too long. I went to the market before dawn and bought rice and fruit and a white candle. I arranged them on the floor of the back room. I did not know the correct words. I only knew the intention behind them. Sometimes that is enough. I knelt on the floor and I spoke to her. I told her that what had been done to her was not her fault and was not right and that the shame had never belonged to her. I told her that our family had carried the weight of her absence the way you carry something heavy enough to change the shape of your spine. I told her that my grandmother was gone now, and that she had spent 80 years being sorry, and that she was waiting. The candle moved without wind. The room went completely still. And then the child walked toward the wall and disappeared. Not with sound or violence. She was simply there. And then she was not. The way warmth leaves a room after the last person goes. I left before sunrise. I did not look back at the house, but at the edge of the village where the road bends into the mountain pass. I checked the rearview mirror. 2 figures stood together in the field. One tall, one small, standing side by side the way people stand when something long broken has finally been made whole. I watched them until the road turned and they were gone. The mountains were quiet. The sky was beginning to go pink. And for the first time in my life I felt that my family was not missing anything.